Do you get a sense that Ms. Barbara Hogan might decide to entertain Mr. Mbeje's demand?
Well, given what Ms. Hogan said about withdrawing, saying basically it was the mistake to put the name of Mr. Mbeje on the affidavit, I don't think it will be a problem. I think she will just apologize and move on.
So what's the latest there? She's obviously had a lot to say, focusing a lot on the SAA route to Mumbai. Just tell us about that.
What she's basically said today really was that the first time she then got the inkling that the route between Johannesburg and Mumbai could be cancelled was when she was in India in 2010, when she was accompanying the former president on a state visit. She says she heard the rumors there that there was this talk that the SAA route could be cancelled. And she says because this was so concerning for her, she then SMS'd the chair of the board of SAA at the time, which was Cheryl Carolus. And then in which case Ms. Carolus made it clear that no decision had been taken to that effect. In fact, she went on to say, oh, well, I know it's the Jet Airways that is putting the pressure to cancel this route. So which then gives you an impression that already, even if the SAA board and the management had not taken any decision on this one, they already knew about the attempts that there was a movement towards that direction. And of course, remember, she was there on a state visit, or rather a working visit. She says after they had gone to a fashion show, when she was about to leave in that fashion show, the chair, or rather the CEO of Jet Airways, came to her to say, I want to speak to you. So basically, that is the thrust of the evidence that she gave today. Remember, in the past 2 days, she focused on Eskom and Transnet. So she was the Minister of Public Enterprises, which oversees the state parastatals, which is your Transnet, your Eskom, your SAA. The thrust, basically, Nompu, of the evidence of former minister here is that there was interference in the appointment of the board members and the senior executives in these parastatals. She is particularly fingering the former president, the kind of pressure that she says she was getting, and of course a number of other people, which she mentioned as she continued with this evidence.
And of course, she made some concluding remarks in her submission, basically giving an overview of what her thoughts are around, the state capture story. Can you just give us a sense of what she was saying? Pardon me.
Basically, what she was saying, I think she feels there has to be a new way of appointing people who are responsible for these entities that we have been speaking about. And this is part of the contribution which the Commission seeks. Remember, when the chairperson of the Commission had concluded with these proceedings, he will need to make the recommendations. And you can see he also wants to hear from those with experience, those who have been there, who understand the workings and the intricacies of these institutions. So what is the best way to avoid a situation where perhaps 10 years later or 25 years later again, this country finds itself debating the same sort of issues? So that was part of her contribution to say she feels there needs to be a much better way really to handle these entities. But as you know, so she could still be called back if the Commission feels they need more information with regards to what she said, or if, let's say, there are people who feel they need perhaps to apply to cross-examine her in the event they feel there's something they need out of that.
And very quickly, Mzwandile, who's next?
Well, it's quite interesting, Nompu. We we thought we were concluding by lunchtime, because in terms of what the Commission had communicated to us was that many of the things had been postponed to either tomorrow or next week. But remember that we spoke to Mr. Manye earlier, who had come here, and then a decision had been taken to say he will come back on the 23rd because there are other issues that they want to check with him. So he had been called by this commission to say he needs to come because there was an opening where he will really answer. When Phumla Williams was on the stand here, he sent an SMS, basically, you are not allowed to do that because you are deemed to be interfering with the witness. So the commission subpoenaed him to come and answer for that. And then he also has his own version about certain issues that he wants to address to the commission. So the commission had decided that that will happen on the 23rd, which will include other issues that were not part of the brief, but he felt very strongly actually seeking to request the judge to allow him to be able. There was a bit of argument with the legal team of the commission, because the legal team of the commission felt they want him to prepare thoroughly so that there's other issues they want to raise he would be able to answer to. But he said he was ready to put his side of the story now, and then he also was ready to respond to the issue of the subpoena. So after lunch, which will resume at 2:45, because we at 2:45, then Mr. Manye will take the stand. We expect him to speak for about an hour, as he indicated, and then the legal commission will decide whether, as he speaks, they do pose a few questions or not.
All right, Mzwandile, thanks very much for that report. The process to find the next